Right at the onset of COVID-19 here in America, I was in a little bit of a fearful place because my daughter, I adopted Missy from Haiti. She's been home with me for 6 years now. But her first mama in Haiti died of undiagnosed AIDS and gave Missy HIV unwittingly. And so Missy is on antiretrovirals every day. By the grace of God and good medicine, her health is spectacular. She's been undetectable for a long time, but medicine and medical care are pretty critical with her having HIV. And because of some things that were happening with COVID, I heard through the medical grapevine that one of her medicines we were going to have a hard time finding. And so I was concerned mostly about making sure my daughter had the life-saving medicine that she needs. And Lori, you remember I called you during this and just asked you to pray. And I went on this kind of very serious scavenger hunt all over the Southeast to find this one particular medicine that my little girl desperately needs. And it was really hard to find. And I was so grateful when we found it, but then they couldn't get it to me in Nashville. And after 2 weeks of just going as hard as I could to try to get this medicine that Missy was desperate for, they found it. And the FedEx truck, after losing it for 2 days, the FedEx truck drove up our hill in the country, and I was standing on the porch watching my baby girl's medicine come up the hill and just overwhelmed that God would provide that for us. And he walked the meds to me, and of course we're both wearing masks, and he had to set the meds down in front of me, and I got the meds, and I didn't want to scare our FedEx driver, but of course I just burst into tears at God's provision. And then I walked toward the porch because I wanted to really pray and thank God in more of a formal way. Sometimes I think it's important for us to bend our knees if we are physically capable of that. And I got down on my knees on our front porch and just thanked God for his provision. And I was by myself, and I started walking into the house. And you know, it's funny how quick our hearts can turn. As stern as I started walking into the house, I began to worry just a little bit, because for me to get her meds meant I had to go off our insurance policy and pay for them out of pocket. And that particular medicine was $5,000. And because I travel for work during COVID, I haven't had work, and we're great. God has been so extraordinarily generous. But $5,000 was a big hit. And so I was so grateful. And in the next moment, as I'm turning to walk into the house, I felt that concern of, oh, goodness gracious, $5,000 is a lot for our budget right now. And my phone buzzed. I had my phone in my hand, my phone buzzed, and I looked down, and y'all, this has never happened before. God is so kind. There was a text from a guy I know, and I had been at his church a couple of months before, and he said, Lisa, he just said some gracious things about what God had done when I got to be there and talk about Jesus. And he said, the leadership of our church was praying for you and Missy, and God just put it upon our hearts really heavily to sow into your ministry during this season. And he just sent me a text proof that their church had wired me $5,000. I mean, who does that but God? And in that moment, I thought, if I will just keep my hope stayed on him, he does not disappoint. It can be hard, and we can have some really dark nights of the soul, but our God is good. As we've talked about choosing joy and moving forward, I've found that sometimes for me to hang on to joy, I actually have to look backwards. Because when I look back over my life, I realize I've never seen God's back. He has always been there.
So good.
He has always been my protector. He has always been my provider. He has always been my peace. And sometimes I forget that until I'm in a really tough place where I'm desperate for a miracle.
Hi everybody, I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe today and you'll never miss a new upload. Thanks for being a part of our Better Together community.